that my mother kept during the time I was in the service. It started in 1942. I enlisted in April of 42. And this was a picture of my uniform as a cadet. I went in as a cadet, and then they would sort us out whether we'd be pilots, bombardiers, or navigators, and I got in as a pilot.
Okay, so you were one of those three then?
Yeah, one of the three, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a B-17, which I flew my missions in overseas, and I had two training sessions in B-17. First as a co-pilot, and the second was as a first pilot with my own crew. And I started out, I was in Pyote, Texas, and Dyersburg, Tennessee, and then back to Pyote and Dalhart, Texas. And then we went to Nebraska and overseas. We were flown over in 2 new airplanes with ATC crews. So half of my crew, or 5 of us, went in one plane and 5 in the other. And these air transport crews flew us over, then they'd come back by boat, and that way they could get 2 new airplanes over there.
Oh.
Yeah, and these are some pictures of fellas manning the guns. We had, I think there was 12 50 caliber guns with these one on each side. I don't know if this is one of the original planes, but towards last, then they had plexiglass. The first ones, they were just open, so they got a lot of cold air and wind and stuff. But afterwards, they put plexiglass in there. They were 50 calibers. And this is a Air Force, and I would imagine that that's a control tower in England. That's the type they had, a lot of them over there in England. That's a B-17 sitting there. That down there is a twin engine. It looks like a training plane. I took twin engine training in AT-9s, AT-10s, and AT-17s. All right, this is a letter I sent to my folks from Miami. After I came back, I had 30 days leave, and then I had to report to Miami to be issued out. But I had to stay in the reserve for 5 years. But this is a uniform of the cadets too. This was the person that was my original engineer, but he'd flown a couple extra missions, so he wasn't with me when I went down. He had returned back to home. This is my bombardier, original bombardier. He was also a qualified navigator. And this was taken at my folks' house in 1945 or 46. And he stayed in and got his commission as a major. He flying transports. He also spent some time in Oregon in those silos where they had nuclear weapons. 2 men would go down for 24 hours at a time. And he said that the cement was about 13 inches thick above them, and they've all been disbanded now. And he had a stroke, what would have been in about 1993, and he's still alive. He's about my age. And this was one taken up at Sibley at Hugo Lisbon's. He was a druggist up there going up, and that was his dog. This was when I was home on leave. Okay. Yeah, this is another one. We had a furlough, and we'd gone to some little resort down there in Texas, and that's where that was taken. And this is after I'd gotten back. I had that 35 Chevy, which originally was Overley's, Clarence Overley, and this was up at the lakes. That's another one with that 35 Chevy. All right, this was the bombardier on the original crew that I flew with, and that crew, when I went back to get my own crew, they went overseas to the 100th Bomb Group, and they were all killed. And he was a heck of a Jones. George Jones was his name. Yeah. And this was some pictures that taken down. I think those were in Miami Beach. Yeah, when I went down to be discharged or back. I'm not just. Oh, this was the one I sent to Norma, and yeah, for the scrapbook. Yeah, but I'm not sure. This is Miami Beach again. And during the time I was down there, we had a hurricane alert, and they told us to fill our bathtubs half full of water, and they brought around candles for all the rooms. But I got out the night before. All the planes, they flew to different airfields because to get them out of there. But I was lucky to get out. And this was taken when I was on that furlough, or not furlough, but pass, I guess it was about a 3-day pass. Yeah, and these are some of the shows we had, and I think these were in Waco, Texas, when we were in basic. Yeah, there's more State Fair, that was a big one then. Judy Garland, yeah, Radio Stars. Yeah, this was one taken, I hadn't soloed. That little stripe in was adhesive tape, and you had to wear that until you'd solo it. So that's how they could tell whether you'd soloed or. Yeah, okay, this is my original crew. This is the crew that I trained with as a first pilot, and then went back to England, and there was the bombardier with me there was sent to radar school because he was a qualified navigator, and the radio man had gotten injured so bad he wasn't with me. My co-pilot was sent to on as a first pilot, got his own crew over there, and one of the other ones wasn't with me, but the other ones were all killed. So my tail gunner, original tail gunner, wasn't with me, but the one man here, this man right here, his wife had twins 3 months after he was killed, and they got a hold of me. I would say about 6 months ago. I made contact with them, and the twins, she made a little scrapbook for them. It was their 60th birthday, so that was unusual. This man here, Fish, was Jewish. He'd flown an extra mission, so he was on his 30th mission, and it was some time before they got a hold of the death certificate on him, but they got it. And the bombardier I had, which replaced Chaperko there, it was a while before they could find his body, and his wife flew to Miami and thought I would have some information, but I didn't. And later they declared him dead too. Okay, this is the names of them. That's a good thing to have, or something like that. Gotling, this is the man I said his wife had twins. Tristler, this was the man, that I said had returned to the engineer. And this is Chaperko. He went on to learn to bomb on radar. And this was McMonigal. That was the one I said that had the twins, or his wife had the twins. And this is Pierce, he was killed. Shermer was the co-pilot, and he went and got his own crew. Then he got to be a first pilot. Abner Fish was the Jewish man I told you was killed. McCabe was the one that was injured, so he wasn't. And this was Julio. That's the fellow that the little guy there on the tail gunner. Yeah, here's a letter I sent from Vernon, Texas. So that's when I was in primary training. That's where we flew PT-19s. There was an open cockpit. Then, after I finished primary, I went to Waco, Texas for basic training, and then also to Waco, Texas, but another air base there, and that's where I had twin engine training. That's where I graduated in April of '43. And this is another picture of the crew. This was my oh yeah, that's my pilot one. I had an instrument rating too, but it's not on this one. So the pilot, April 22nd, yeah, that's the day I graduated. All right, and here's another. Let's see. This stir, well, on he put in 30 years, and he retired as a colonel. Stansbury was killed, and I don't know what happened to this one, but there was, yeah, this is another the same crew, yeah. Yeah, this is on the German prison camp. All right, and this is Sagan. Where are we at here? Oh, right here. That's the first prison camp I was in, and then they moved us to Nuremburg. That was the second one. And then when the Americans were coming in, they moved us down to Moosburg. That's where we were liberated. Patton's outfit liberated us here. But when we left Sagan, we went all the way up here to Gorlitz, I think it was. We walked, and then we went by rail down here, but then this one we marched all the way down there.
Okay, so you started at the top of the map then, didn't you?
Stopped right there at Sagan, Luft 3.
Yeah.
See, it's just a little
You
bit
started
there.
at the
See,
top.
And then we went around there. And
And then you marched down to that first place. And then you went by rail?
Rail from there to Nuremberg.
Okay.
There was those 40 and 8 cars they had. Well, you couldn't all sit down. Most of them had to stand up.
Yeah.
And then we were here, and then when the Americans were coming, when we left here, the Russians were coming in. That's the reason they moved us out about 1 o'clock in the morning. And they just said anybody that falls out will be shot. But to my knowledge, I didn't see any of them shot.
Okay.
But they had dogs with them and
Sure.
stuff. There was very little chance.
So then you marched the last?
The last, yeah. I think I had just looked at it. I think it was about 17 days we marched.
You marched.
Here. Yeah. And then we were in there about 10 days before Patton's outfit came in. That was the 29th of April of '45.
So how long were you in the, do you know how long you were in these first places? Any idea of time-wise?
Well, yeah. See, when I was shot down, I don't know if it's near here, or if it's on here or not, but I was shot down near Spremberg, and then they took me to an air base that night.
Here's Spremberg right here.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Right at the top.
Yep, that's where I was shot down. And then I stayed there that night, and the next day they took me to an interrogation, and I was there about 3 days. It was also a hospital. Then I went to the hospital at, what the heck was it? But I was there until the day of the invasion. So I went down on the 8th of May, and the 6th of June, I left the hospital to go up to Sagan. And I was there from the 6th of June until the, I think it was the 19th of January.
Oh, you were there a long time then.
And then from January was only here till April. I think it was April the 4th. I've got the actual dates, but
yeah, that's okay.
And then from the 4th, we left here, and I was down there about 10 days to Moosburg. It's right here.
Yeah, right there at the bottom.
Yeah, we were in tents because they had about 80,000 there, and they had every thing down there. Yeah. And this is now this is the notice that the folks got, when I was shot down, which was 8th of May, and they didn't hear. I don't remember when the next one. I think it probably dated that they got that I was a prisoner of war. Yeah, here it is, June the 12th. So it was about a little over a month before they found out that. And this one it was when I was returned. Well, they sent that May. See, we actually got out the 29th of April. But,
That's when your parents got notified.
yeah, that's when they were notified. Yeah. You know? And then they would be returned. They didn't want them to communicate if they didn't have to, because then I came back. Where was I sent to for to be mustered out? I think it was down in. Yeah, then see this happened. Then when I got back, I went back to Miami. That's where I was.
That's what I thought.
Oh yeah. See, they sent me home on a 30-day leave. Yeah. Okay. This is a picture. This was a German thing, and it gives here U.S. and my occupation of farmer. This is my American dog tag, and this was where I went down. It's Hildesheim on the 8th. See, they put the date, then the month, and the year. And this is one of the rooms in the barracks at Nuremburg. And there's a guard tower. They had those all around the fence. And those seismograph wires would acknowledge any vibration or tunneling down. I don't know. Some said it was 15 feet, but I don't know. So when they did dig the tunnel, they had to go deep and then had to reinforce it all the way. I think they are. Yeah, and this was at Nuremberg. These were toilets, and that was the guard towers. And this is Moosburg. Yeah, you see, this is the way they cooked. They had a little flint burner, and these are where they had dug trenches so that when they come over bombing, they go in the trenches and stuff. Chow time. All right, this is at Sagan. That's the first prison camp. And that was probably the best one I was in, or it was the best one, because I was built, about during the time they started. And this was a mess. You just get two guys from each room to go get to whatever the meal was, which wasn't too much. And this is when we moved out. That was in January of 45. That's when the Russians were coming in. And this is again at Nuremberg. There's trenches that they had dug. All right, this is the overall of the camp that I was in at Sagan. This was the mess hall, the one that they showed there. And this was a water, supposedly it was for swimming and stuff, but it wasn't. It was just in case of fire. And these two were places where you could wash clothes, but nobody had anything to wash. And these were just all the barracks. Now this was the barracks I was in, 164, and this Bob Mary was in this one, 163. Now this is just one section. This is just the west compound. They had the north compound, the center compound, and the south. So there were four more just like that. Yeah, and there's the laundry room. That's what they call it, and the fire pool. That's what. And this is at Moosburg, where tents. I mentioned we were in tents, and this is what we had. They just put up tents because that's no other room. And this was a theater. This was in that first picture of Sagan. That was the best. They made some seats and stuff, and they put on some pretty good, some of the guys would dress up like women, and they had different shows, and they did a pretty good job of them. Now the Red Cross sent a lot of stuff. This was a cabinet that they turned over. This is where you kept your food. This is blood sausage. That damn stuff, nobody wanted to eat that. This was their thing. You'd have hot water and dish. You got a bowl a knife, fork, and spoon, a tablespoon, and a cup. And then that's what you had for, so you had no trouble doing dishes. And here's some Red Cross parcels underneath. And yeah, I was in the center bunk, but there were 3 bunks high. Yeah, here's another one of the 3 bunks. Now this was Nuremburg. See, this was a little worse yet than Sagan. Sagan was the best, then Nuremburg, and then Moosburg, of course, never got in any barracks there with him too. Alright, this is a barracks at Sagan. And this here, they tried to, you know, dig up the ground for trying a little garden or something. But and all these stumps got dug out. They used them for firewood. Okay, this is at March when we left Sagan to go to Nuremburg. And this Gambelsdorf, that's one night they just moved in there, slept outside, and yeah, here's another one in Nuremberg. This is supposed to be the progress that the Americans were making, but the only thing they would allow would be the German news, but they did have some radios in there that could get the English news. Yeah, okay, yeah, these are all, some didn't make it this, yeah, this is a funeral. Kind Transwater, kind drinks water, and then don't drink the water. And this is one of the, where they're cooking. Culinary Institute, that's where they're making. And March, yeah, that's one of them that we were on. And Moosburg, this is Moosburg. Things begin to get crowded. And here's when Patton came in with that tank. Now, I didn't get to see him. There was such a crowd there, you couldn't even get around him. But and one of the guys there, his brother was a tank man. He came in. So, now, here's, yeah, Stalag Luft III. See, this was the first one. The honey wagons, you know, that's how they barrel. And they were breaking up for fuel there to try to chop up wood. Okay, here's the tunnel, and this was Glimnitz, and this was one of the other officers. But this Glimnitz, I got a letter from him. I think maybe I showed you a personal letter from him. He was in command when we left this Sagan in the winter, and I took a picture of him. We chipped in, got some of the guards over here for our reunion in '65. That was a 20-year reunion, and he was there. And I took a picture of him with a Polaroid camera, but I didn't have any, you know, extras. So I had some made, and I sent it to him, and then he sent me back. And he was over twice after that, but he passed away. He had 2 daughters. One was a school teacher, and he had been in World War I. So he was, oh yeah, here's good, yeah. Here's the reading room. That was the abort there for their toilet. Yeah, and this is Moosburg Hill. That's a dang good picture. Yeah, those sure came out nice. And here's the Liberation. See, that's how they were there. Here's where they were doing cooking. And that's another Hilton Annex. Went by Hilton there. Alright, this is just a bunch of them playing cards, and they played for cigarettes because nobody had any money or anything. But when the food got short, you couldn't trade it. Before you could trade cigarettes for food, but so that's why they started using those. And this is where I told you they made that theater and how the guys worked. And that's a picture of them getting that ready to go. All right, here's the 3. All right, this guy was an American, and he was a fighter pilot, and he was flying with the British, and he was one of the first ones taken there. I think he was a colonel at that time. He went on to be the senior out here at the Air Force Academy, and as a general. And you know, but these are all Americans here. But and these are the guys evidently with the rank, because these were the head guys. And there's a funeral there. This German officer's carrying the wreath for it, and got American pallbearers there. All right, this was Colonel. Remember, this was an Englishman here. Here again, they're showing this guy gets a haircut there. That was just some of the prisoners. And here again, it shows senior officers. This man was British. There's again at the funeral. Yeah, that's. Yeah, now this is one. This is I mentioned about that radio man getting. That's when we came in. This was Abner Fish watching, and these were some of the MPs and stuff that came out to pick him up with him. Yeah. This is myself, and this was a little guy that I mentioned got killed, and this was my co-pilot, and he went on to get his own crew. So, yeah, these are the Germans leaving, and that's the way they had the little cart to carry their stuff in, and we left there. I think it was in April 20th. Oh yeah, here's one. B-17 getting bombed. Oh yeah, here's one. April 27th. I think that's when we.
This tells you about when you got shot down.
Yeah. Well, this is before. This is when we got wounded. I think we were leading a high squadron, and well, whatever it is, it's on there. You can read it. But yeah, that's what that was. All right, and these are some from the. I would imagine those are out the Sheldon mail. Some that the folks took. Yeah, that's May 8th. Yeah. All right, that's October. Okay, this is a fellow that lost a leg, and he was from Newton, I believe. Anyway, when he came back, I asked him if he would write to my folks and tell them that I was okay, and he said, yeah, and I thought, heck, he never will, but he did, and told him. So yeah, and this was at Ace, and this is where they had the name of all the servicemen. All right, this is April 30th of 45. Yeah, see, I thought I was going to be home because I'd getting up there in missions, and I figured I'd make it, but no luck. Oh yeah, this is my discharge. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, see, my folks went to Omaha to get my Distinguished Flying Cross and Air Medal. And this is a POW medal. That we didn't get for, we got it about 5-6 years ago. Oh yeah, no, that's a Purple Heart. This is a Distinguished Flying Cross with 4 Oak Leaf clusters. After you got that and then flew 5 missions, you got a cluster rather than another medal. Yeah, this is a Purple Heart. This is a Distinguished Flying Cross. Yeah. Yeah, this is the one that went to that I mentioned. We met this Glimnets and stuff. Yeah. There, that's Glimnets and his wife. Yeah, he was a nice guy. He was fair. He was strict, but I think he was there to protect us. All right. This guy right here is the guy that wrote that Great Escape, and this was Glimnitz, and this was Woody Flood, or Wally Flood. He was from Canada. He's the guy that engineered the tunneling and that stuff down there. I'll be damned. Yep, here's the, okay, here we are. Here's Glimnitz, and this was the adjutant, the little guy, and this was a pilot, myself. This guy died about 10 years ago, and this guy about a year ago. So this guy, yeah, here they are again, yeah. Glimnitz and Similat. Goff music. Yeah, Similat, that's this little guy here. And I cut that out of the news. So. Oh yeah, here's one of my folks getting the air medal, so that's got to be, well, that would have been in 45. Yeah, here's myself, and this is Charlie Scott, one of the pilots. And I'm not sure whether this is German or this one. One of them was. Yeah, right, these, all three were pilots, and this was this guy's wife. And she had cancer, but she's still living. He was bald as a cue ball. There's Charlie Scott and I. Yeah, here's the letter from Lemons. Oh, good. Yeah. This is Norma. Well, that was taken, I think, probably when she graduated from junior college. And this was taken when I got back. And that's their wedding picture, taken in November the 22nd of 45. There's one, I didn't get the date on it, but that's some of the days they fought that damn.
I think that's a 60-something Chevy you have there. Don't you think it's the 60s?
Sure.
I don't know what year, but...
No, either, but it's better. Well,